Dear students, let us start the discussion on today's newspaper, that is 10th April 2017. The first article, Clarity and Facts on the Ground. So this is related to Aadhaar and right to privacy. Let us try to understand it from our constitutional perspective. In our constitution, the supremacy of the constitution has to be maintained through judicial review. It means courts has to invalidate any law or the rule that violates the constitution, that is against the fundamental rights. This power of judicial review is explicitly stated in Article 13 of the Constitution. So in this context, procedurally, the CJI will constitute the constitutional benches to look into the matters related to the Constitution. These constitutional benches, how many has to be constituted, how many days they have to work, it is in the prerogative of the CJI's office. Now, the question is, if CJI do not constitute them on time, or if there is a delay with regard to constitutional review process, what will be the effect of it on the citizens' rights is the question over here. So let me put it this way. Now Aadhaar, let us take, it is violative of the right to privacy. Tomorrow after 2 years, Supreme Court declares that yes, Aadhaar is violative of right to privacy. By the time Aadhaar gets deeply rooted into our day-to-day life, and many of the people's rights might have been violated by that period of time. So in this context, remember this statement, delays in the constitutional judgment can have very untoward consequences on fundamental rights. Fundamental law will be frustrated if it denies privileges of the constitution for a long time due to an invalidated law. Finally, delay in constitutional judgment can make their impact permanent, can make the impact of the invalid laws permanent, and it can have irreversible consequences. The best example for this is demonetization. So demonetization also have affected the lives of many poor people. There is a loss of jobs, loss of revenue, loss of livelihood. So it was challenged under the Article 21 of the Constitution. Now the matter is still pending before the courts, and demonetization period is also over and the economy is moving on. It means if courts do not react on time, it will have irreversible impact in many of the cases. In this case, I want to quote the election in Shivakasi. So there, the matter is still pending for the last 10 years, where the Chidambaram was declared as elected and opponent has challenged it through the election petition in the court. So it means even the Supreme Court gives the judgment tomorrow, it does not make any impact on that particular election because the period is over. Mr. Chidambaram also has functioned as the Home Minister during that time. So in this context, the judicial delays with regard to the constitutional issues is unwarranted. And next is, Aadhaar today is made mandatory for the PAN card or application of income tax returns. Yes, probably it may have certain benefits, certain service delivery benefits to us. But however, the benefits which we get may not be exchanged for the fundamental rights which we are going to lose. And Supreme Court as the protector of the rights has to give its judgment as quick as possible. That's what is the essence this article talks about. Stepping up to a shared potential. So India and Australia, they have many potential areas for cooperation. So if you remember, Mr. George Bush, when he was the President of United States of America, he was stating for a quadrant with India, Australia, Japan and USA. So it means the relations with Australia have a strategic dimension. And mineral wealth of Australia, you know that Australia is rich in uranium and India needs this nuclear material. So India-Australia Civil Nuclear Cooperation Agreement will help us with supplies of the uranium for our nuclear reactors. And the biggest challenge is, our biggest development can happen with education. After the United States, Indian community or Indian students are mostly moving to the Australia. And India, Australia are coming to an agreement on skill development where 24 million people are being expected to benefit from this skill development program. And finally, trade. So the trade, it has got a huge potential because of the closeness or because of the proximity which both the countries, closeness both the countries are related. Now, the trade is to the tune of $20 billion and it is expected to grow between the countries. So, the next article is none for the road. So this article, it talks about recent Supreme Court judgment. It is about Supreme Court ban on liquor sales within 500 meters distance of the national and state highways. So whenever we talk about this national and state highways, how these 500 meters have to be defined? Is it a straight line or it's the road distance? What exactly 500 meters distance mean? And second is, many of the states have converted national and state highways, declared them into intercity roads, district roads. So it means tomorrow they have to be managed by the local governments over there. And the local governments do not have necessary expertise on this matter. And it's a clear case of judicial activism where judiciary is involving itself with policy decisions. For the states like Goa, Puducherry, the major income comes from the tourism. And in this case, ban on alcohol will have a very wrong effects on the revenues of these particular states. So in this context, the Supreme Court has to take a relook on its decision on banning the alcohol. That's what this article suggests for. A reckless intervention. It is about recent United States intervention on Syria. You know that in Idlib province, Mr. Assad has used the chemical weapons and the probe is going on, and Assad claims that he did not use any chemical weapons over there, and these are majorly due to the rebels. Or it is a gas leaked from the rebel godowns. That's what is the Assad claim was. So United States have reacted to that, and it has launched the Tomahawk missiles against the air base in Syria. And Russia and Iran have immediately come into support of Mr. Assad. So it has deepened the existing crisis. Will it benefit the Syrians in any way? There is a humanitarian crisis which is going on in Syria. United States intervention now, it will complicate and it will have an escalation fears associated with it. When I say fears of escalation, what I mean here is this. When this matter is going beyond and it turns out to be a proxy war between US and Russia, Iran and Saudi Arabia, then the destability is further going to increase in the Middle East. And also, if any country, if it has to attack other country other than on the self-defense issues, other than on matters related to a direct attack, it has to take the UN Security Council permission. Here, no such a permission has been taken. So, United States could have waited for the report of the probe which has been taken into chemical attacks. It could have waited to take the UN Security Council permission, or it could have participated through the peace process initiated by Turkey and Russia. So in diplomacy, there cannot be spontaneous solutions. So Mr. Trump has to realize this as soon as possible. Now coming to stirring up the nuclear pot, let us try to understand this. So in stirring up the nuclear part, why the nuclear energy, nuclear reactors, nuclear weapons, all these are losing their significance from this dimension, we have to understand this concept. Previously, nuclear weapons are in the hands of the states. Now, Pakistan kind of the states also possess the nuclear nuclear weapons. And it has supplied this technology to even Libya. And Iran also is said to got the technology from Pakistan. Khan network is very famous for this. And if it falls into the hands of the non-state actors, what is the way out is the question. So the non-state actors are growing up in this issue. And then nuclear weapons and their deterrence effect is also getting discredited. There are growing safety concerns with regard to the nuclear reactors. Fukushima nuclear reactor accident in Japan is a critical example for this. And non-proliferation is getting emphasized across the world. Henry Kissinger, who is known to be a father of nuclear deterrence, he has clearly stated or formed a group with 4 people on making the world nuclear free. And finally, nuclear reactor business itself is in doldrums. You already know that Westinghouse has filed for the bankruptcy and GE is also online with regard to its nuclear business. And because of the climate change, there is an emphasis going on solar energy, that is renewable sources of energy, and obviously it is going to have a due impact on the nuclear energy. The reason is nuclear energy is very expensive, and to initiate a nuclear reactor, it's going to take a lot of time, and it can only produce the electricity once the reactor is totally installed and reaches to criticality. So that's why there is a change that is happening. Now here there is a very good article that is explanation that is called free riders. So generally whenever we talk about concepts in public administration, we always express the problems of free riders, and economists are very much concerned about this free riders issue. Let's take a library is been opened. So there may be many people who will not be contributing to it but taking the advantage out of it. So for many of the public goods with positive externalities, there may be many people, the free riders. So for subsidies, the major problem in India is this free riders. So try to understand this word free riders over here. Now let's go to the business review. Russia and India, a forgotten trade partner. Before 1991, Russia was one among the largest trade partners for India, and it has by and large diversified. So, though it was dominated by the defense, there are other areas which are also very strongly traded. So, in this context, India-Russia relations with regard to the trade concern did not move forward. If you remember when Manmohan Singh was the Prime Minister, India-Russia relations were being upgraded, and these are called special and privileged partnership today. Previously it was strategic partnership, now it is special and privileged partnership. In spite of this, there is no improvement in the trade, and it is $6 billion. In India it is 1%, in Russia's total trade it is 1.2%. And second is, India's trade relations with China and US, these are many a times higher when compared to Russia. And in Russia, most of the things which we are buying are related to defense. So in this context, any strategic relation also need to be bound with economic ties. Then how the relations have to be improved, and what are the reasons for this, for the fall of the trade relations? One is India's liberalization path after 1991, collapse of USSR. These are the two major reasons for fall of trade with Russia. And second thing is, if we have to improve that, so there has to be connectivity. So INSTC, North-South Transport Corridor, International North-South Transport Corridor. So it will have a big boost for India's trade with Russia. And second is, direct gas delivery to India from Russia, and creation of common funds between Russia and India for trade. And above all, trade in local currencies. And free trade agreement between India, Eurasian Economic Union, EEU. So these all can improve the India-Russia trade relations. And then we have, is India losing its gold fetish? You know, in India we use the gold for various things. One is as an inflation hedge, and second is as an investment, and third as an ornament. So as young generation has come up, relatively the emphasis on gold is decreasing, and they are more shifting towards other consumable goods, and they don't give any special privilege to the goods, special privilege to the gold. And second is, gold as an investment option, its returns are not as expected when compared to the various mutual funds now. And finally, as inflation itself is being targeted to 4%, so gold as an inflation hedge also has lost its potential. So that's why India is losing gold fetish. Yes, India, slowly the gold imports are expected to decline in India, and it is very much good for economy. Now coming to the news page, states can politicize, or states pan politicization of governor's role. You know that governor's role is very much criticized in Indian politics. So with regard to interstate council meeting, various issues are discussed over here. What are they? First, whenever there is a hung assembly, how a chief minister has to be called, there shall be a clear order of priority on this. And second is, governors shall be a non-partisan, experienced office rather than politicized office. And third thing is, governor shall be appointed in consultation with the chief minister. Fourth, whenever a retired officer or a military official or a judge, if he has to be appointed as a governor, there shall be some cooling off period. Immediately after retirement, he shall not be appointed. So these are the various suggestions which are being given at the interstate council meet on the governors. Please go through that. It is very much important for our polity classes. So because in relation to this, read the Punchi Commission recommendations on Governor's office. Now, coming to the news page, India team in US for defense technology talks. You know that Defense Trade and Technology Initiative was launched between India and US during Obama era. When Trump has come up, there is no systems are in place to take it forward. And India needs some surveillance mechanism underwater to observe the movement of the Chinese ships. So that's why India wants to buy sonars from the United States of America. So they are looking for taking forward this DTTI or initiating this DTTI as soon as possible. And as usual, I gave the notes over here. And these notes will be available to you at laix.in/civils-prep. And then today we will be uploading you that laix.in/test prep, some answers which are being corrected. So those videos we will be uploading that. This will be available to you at the Civils Prep or Law Excellence. So on this YouTube channel. Thank you very much. And again, so we have started this a magazine program. All these notes will be available to you as a magazine on weekly basis. And you can subscribe for the same at laix.in/test prep. laex.in/test prep. Thank you very much. All the best.